It feels like I say the same thing every year, but truly, 2025 has been a monumental year for sim racing in so many ways, and so as we wrap up the year, here is my official OC Racing Sim Racing Awards. I totally just made that up. Starting off with the biggest wins of the year, these are the products, the events, and just the overall moves that have genuinely pushed this hobby forward. Starting off, the validity and the size of sim racing has been very noticeable, with over 24,000 people attending the Sim Racing Expo in Germany. Then across the pond, the Sim Gaming Expo in Chicago was also a massive success, and in fact these Sim Expos have been so successful that in 2026, the one in Germany is moving to Frankfurt at an even bigger hall. The Sim Gaming Expo in Chicago is running it back, and even a completely new event in collaboration with NASCAR is hosting the Sim Racing Expo in Charlotte, right next to the Hall of Fame. More than just expos though, other huge wins have been the FIA sanctioning sim racing under its international sporting code, this fundamentally legitimizing sim racing at the highest level. Then at PRI, the biggest motorsports trade show in North America, we also had an entire hall dedicated to sim racing, including a big esports arena, and if that wasn't enough, even more automakers have made their way into this hobby, such as Lamborghini with MOZA, Porsche in so many ways, and even Mercedes. So yeah, sim racing has had a lot of big wins and achievements this year. Now, real quick before I go over the biggest letdowns of the year though, I would like to give a big thank you to Six Sigma Sim Racing for sponsoring this video. Six Sigma Sim Racing is a Canadian cockpit manufacturer selling high quality yet affordable aluminum profile rigs, seats, accessories, and more, and they're also a distributor for Aztec, MOZA, Cube Controls, and many others. So apart from offering free shipping in Canada and the United States, they're also offering 5% off your order using code OCRacing at checkout. So make sure to go visit their shop via the link in my video description, and thank you again to Six Sigma Sim Racing for sponsoring this video. Okay, on the contrary and the biggest letdowns, this is the stuff that should have been great, but it just wasn't. Headlining this is unfortunately Project Motor Racing, a title that launched with high expectations for realism and competitive depth, but was ultimately widely criticized for its inconsistent force feedback, its erratic AI behavior, its performance problems, and an unfinished feel that left many players disappointed. Now, the negative reception was in fact so significant that the developer announced layoff shortly after its launch, this being something that really nobody wanted to see. Unfortunately for everyone, Project Motor Racing wasn't the only title receiving negative backlash this year, as Rennsport and Assetto Corsa Evo also struggled to meet expectations, as they faced criticism over stability issues, controversial design decisions, and features that felt either incomplete or unnecessarily restrictive. Now, in terms of hardware, and I really hate to say it, but Fanatec has been underwhelming. On top of releasing very few new products, the ones that they did release weren't anything very notable. The Porsche Vision GT wheel is a futuristic Porsche wheel that nobody really asked for. The updated GT3 wheel is the exact same wheel from many years ago, but without the cool factor of the McLaren branding.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
And then their Club Sport cockpit is good, but very expensive, with some widely overpriced accessories and nothing really innovative in this crowded space. So yeah, unfortunately that is a glimpse of the negative stuff of this year. Alright, now next up, and in a more positive light, we have the best value hardware, and this is the gear that, in my opinion, punched way above its price point, and this year, well, we've really had a lot. So starting off with some runner-ups, we've got the PXN VD6 bundle, which delivers huge value at its around $400 price point, with strong and detailed force feedback quality, an included pedal set, interchangeable steering wheel, and even a table clamp. Now overall, this bundle felt genuinely impressive, and although it's not without its flaws, for the price, it is hard to beat. Now next up, this year the Turtle Beach Velocity 1 shifter really proved that you don't need to spend big money to get a solid H-pattern driving experience.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Jesus Christ. At around $140, you're getting lots of functionality, a sequential shift mode, interchangeable shift knobs, and a driving experience very reminiscent of real road cars like my Miata. Now rounding up the runners-up, I'm also putting the Simagic Evo Sport here. This $400 direct drive base, in my opinion, has brought a genuinely high-end driving feel and detailed refinement into a much more accessible price bracket, and its overall popularity really has brought up Simagic into a more mainstream light. Now that said, for my 2025 best value pick, I really do have to give it to the MOZA M Booster Active Pedal. At $800, it dramatically undercuts the only real alternative in this space, the SimHQ Active Pedal, which costs well over $2,000 per pedal. Now what makes the M Booster special is that it's not just another load saw brake, it's an active motor driven pedal that can dynamically simulate ABS, lockups, vibration, and changing pedal resistance in real time. And so for the price, it delivers a level of feedback and adaptability that simply wasn't accessible to most sim racers before, making it one of the clearest value wins of the year, despite it unfortunately still being inaccessible to most. Next up, we have the worst value for money, and these are picks that I found straight up hard to justify this year, not necessarily because of performance, but because of price. So starting off with my two runners up, the first has to be the MOZA Active Shifter. At $550, this is primarily meant to be a flight simulator joystick for flight sims, but it can also be used as a sim racing shifter, and the truth is that, as I mentioned in my full review, it simply doesn't do a great job. The shifting felt generally undefined and inconsistent, and it generally did not perform as I was expecting it to, albeit I am told that a big software update is in the works for it, so maybe I'll have to take a look at it again next year. Okay, next up, unfortunately on this list, is also the SimPC by Origin PC. Although the specs are undeniably great, and for a turnkey solution it does do everything that you need, the overall pricing and the huge premium that Origin places on these pre-built units immediately makes it hard to justify unless you're just flush with cash and want everything at your door with as little effort as possible. Must be nice. Okay, and now taking up the top step of the podium for this category, unfortunately I have to give it to the Restech X1 Formula Cockpit. With my review unit costing $4,140, this rig, although stunning to look at, was widely impractical with limited adjustability, some flex under use, questionable design choices, and a overall build quality that did not live up to its enormous price tag. Alright, next up we have the Most Improved brand, this being a company that clearly listened, iterated, and got better this year, and undoubtedly I have to give it to PXN. With the release of their new direct drive bundles, they've really brought a competitive offering to the table, taking on the likes of MOZA, Fanatec, and others, and as we saw at the Sim Racing Expo, they are also continuing to expand their ecosystem and really double down into the entry to mid-range sim racing market. As a runner-up to them, I'll also say that I have heard better things about Turtle Beach with the release of their new software updates, so I will be making updated reviews of their hardware in 2026. Okay, and next up in a similar category, we have the best innovation, and I have a few to name out. For starters, we have the one that went viral at the Sim Racing Expo, the Graviton Simulator, which is intended to simulate actual G-forces up to 3 Gs via a helmet that physically moves your head with strings. Of course, it's hard to explain, but I highly suggest watching Traction GG's video on the product.
It's funny, I must look absolutely ridiculous at this moment, but when you're in here, you're completely oblivious to the outside world.
Now, another insanely cool sim racing product that has gotten lots of interest online has been the Porsche 992.2 Cup Car replica by VPG Sim, which is ridiculously lightweight and made with near pinpoint accuracy to the real thing. Another ridiculous thing to see this year has been the 6DOF cubic motion platform that has been shown off by Podium 1. However, my top pick for the sim racing innovation of the year is the Saybelt Sim Seat Foam Kit, as for around $100 to $200, you're able to up the comfort and immersion of your sim racing seat as it molds directly to your body's exact contortions, shape, and pressure points. Again, that one is also hard to explain, so you can watch my dedicated video to learn more about it. As I said in the beginning of this video, 2025 has been a tremendous year for sim racing, and I can tell you personally that 2026 will be even better, as even as soon as next week, some top top secret bangers are on the way, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. And so with that, as always, thank you all for the incredible support in 2025, and have a fantastic rest of your year.